I am French. I walked into this movie hoping for something akin to Gladiator. A movie that isn't historical at all, but at least is entertaining. Oui. This is English propaganda of the period. An obscene, immoral, and frankly disgusting little man that is obsessed with dominating women and others.
So it was an accurate portrayal, you would say.
Oh, oui. More documentary and overview than a film, with a focus on how disgusting Napoleon is and how superior the British are.
They do not even have any good fromage.
That was a 1-star review from IMDb. Hello and welcome. We are Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. We've killed Andrew. I'm Steven.
That was incredible.
Ryan's over there.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Andrew.
Oh, and if that horribly stereotypical intro didn't give it away, we're talking about 2023's Napoleon.
Napoleon.
Oh, man. Directed by Ridley Scott.
Indeed.
A British man.
Exactly.
No,
Part of the propaganda machine.
Make it worse. A British knight. He's
Sir Ridley Scott.
Sir Ridley
Yeah.
Scott.
Gosh.
Oh, wow.
Why? I don't know. The last 2 films he's done have been French-based.
Yeah. Wait,
What was the
House of
other one?
Gucci?
No, Last Duel.
Oh, I thought
Was
House of
Last
Gucci
Duel
was
was
after
French?
Last Duel.
The Last Duel takes place in France.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I didn't see it.
Well,
That's pretty good. It's
but
all right.
they when it finished, they announced that they were working on.
I feel that House of Gucci
Napoleon.
was in between these.
It may have.
I feel
been.
like it was.
See,
Yeah.
I thought it wasn't just because they announced Napoleon at the end of that he was working on.
Oh, it's like the cinematic universe.
no,
The Last Duel takes place
like
side by side to
when they
Napoleon.
finished the
Confirmed.
production for Last
I
Duel.
know, yeah.
Golly, killing me over here. Oh Lord, this
Can
is
you
gonna be,
even
I was
have
like,
a
House of Gucci's Italian, right?
even have a cinematic
really likes
universe
Europe right
inside our own universe of historical fiction?
I'll say this: at the end of this movie, when like people were leaving, there were a lot of people waiting in the seats, like there was going to be an after credits. And I was like, they're not setting up the historical universe. Like they're not going to cut over to George Washington.
Napoleon's dead.
Yeah, like, he's not coming back for the
spoiling
sequel.
the movies.
Yeah.
Golly.
If I'm spoiling that Napoleon died,
He walks among us. Don't listen
I
to
don't know what
Andrew.
to tell you.
The Illuminati will tell you.
200-year-old spoiler right there.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
anyways,
man.
Let's hear some info about this wonderful
Yeah.
Ridley Scott movie.
Let's kick it off with a synopsis.
Yeah.
An epic that details the checkered rise and fall of French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte and his relentless journey to power through the prism of his addictive, volatile relationship with his wife, Josephine.
Okay. That's pretty accurate. That's a pretty good description.
Well, that certainly describes the movie.
That does definitely
It
describe
does,
the movie.
yeah. It doesn't really
Doesn't
describe
really
his life.
Describe Napoleon,
Yeah.
but it describes the movie.
Sure.
So this was, as we
That was its intended purpose. So I'd say it kind of
Absolutely,
like
yeah.
10 out of 10. No notes.
directed by Ridley Scott, as we've already mentioned.
Yeah.
Sir Ridley Scott.
Sir
You put some
Ridley
respect
Scott.
on that
I ain't
name.
putting that in front of his name. I'm sorry, sir. This is America.
Ain't got no knights over here.
I'll say, sir, if I was serving you fast food, but not anywhere else.
That's only in the South.
Only in the South.
Yeah.
That's also true. So music is by Martin Phipps. So he's worked on The Crown, Black Mirror, and Peaky Blinders.
Okay.
The
Lot of
Crown
TV
has some fantastic
Yeah,
music.
he's got a lot of TV shows in his resume.
Okay, cool.
But some good stuff.
yeah, I was going to say those are all
Yeah,
good shows.
All of those soundtracks are really, really good.
All right, so y'all can crucify me for this one, but
Okay.
this film stars Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby and
That's
some
about
other
it.
people.
And lots of other people.
lots of other
That's
people.
about it.
Like not to be disrespectful to anyone else.
No,
who
there's a
is in
couple
this
of people
film.
that are like character acters that I've seen and stuff, but I
Right.
couldn't tell you their
I-
name.
yeah,
There are
couldn't-
a
yeah.
whole lot of names that weren't really familiar to me, and also ultimately for as many people as go back and forth across the screen, the movie is Napoleon and Josephine. And that's just about it.
That's about it. I mean, the title of the movie is Napoleon in
Napoleon.
big bright letters. I'm looking at the poster, and that's Pretty much.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of on brand with the type of personality that Napoleon
There
was.
are some people in his like sphere, I feel like, in this movie that like you don't even ever hear their names.
No.
Like they walk into the scene multiple times, things happen, and I'm like, oh, it's that guy with the hair. You know, I have no like name to attach
the
to
dude
him.
with the mutton chops is back.
Yeah, he's back. Hey, there's that guy.
Yeah, there are a lot of like his generals and stuff who I assumed would be named, who like people just pass by in the back and be like, I don't know if that's supposed to be Murat or Duveau. I don't know. Oh well, moving on.
Those are already names that I don't know.
I don't know either.
Two of his marshals.
I think the Ninja Turtles was Leonardo, Raphael,
Those are artists.
Michelangelo, Donatello.
Yeah.
Those
I know those
names.
Those are artists, not generals.
Well, they were Ninja Turtles first, and then I think those artists kind of cribbed their names from them. But anyway, moving on, Steven. What else can you tell us about the movie?
There's also almost a really fun segue there that Napoleon's first commander was just a painter.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, because it was the French Revolution.
Well,
all the aristocrats.
Maybe a painter could have a better idea on the battlefield.
Well, no, the aristocrats were all the people who were the officers of the army. So what were they doing with the aristocrats? They were getting rid of them.
Yeah.
They were killing them.
Painting.
So other people
With
would have to
blood.
rise.
I like
into
your
their
answer.
place. Yeah. Painting is my art.
So Stephen is kind of our residential historical French officer here.
Oh God.
Is that the title we've given him?
Yes.
I didn't sign off on
I
this.
have a passing knowledge of French history. I'm not very good at it.
I'm not going to claim to be
I can
historian.
make really good French toast. And so that's the three levels of...
Yeah, so like Ryan has no idea. I have some idea. and Stephen has more idea.
I literally looked up like a couple of crash course videos on the French Revolution.
Did you watch the one I sent you?
I think. Which one was yours?
The animated oversimplified?
Yeah, I watched that.
That
one.
one's fun.
Yeah, that was good.
It's also not entirely accurate, but it's entertaining.
It's fun
in the process.
Yeah.
You should read the comments underneath it now. It's a multiple-year-old video. There are recent comments.
Oh, people are just blowing it up.
People are mad.
Yeah.
Everywhere. There are I'll make some other recommendations later. Anyways, so the budget on this film has been reported as low as 130 million and as high as 200 million. But most things I could find tend to lean towards the higher mark.
Probably just because this definitely was happening during
there's a big
tail end
battle
of COVID.
scene.
Yeah.
The costumes, the locations.
COVID was a factor. Like
Yeah.
I feel like it's got to be the higher number.
It has to be.
I would think so, yeah.
Although we'll get into trivia, there are some things that may argue against that.
Although, I mean, like, when you think about it, there's only really two big name actors. And Vanessa Kirby, as much as I like her, I don't know if she's
still
big
kinda
enough
new.
to
I
like...
don't know if she commands.
She's not a
the
Tom
money.
Cruise level, you know,
No,
like...
I mean,
she's certainly blown up.
Oh,
yes,
for sure.
Yeah, because she's been in a lot of films recently, but definitely like she's not like Joaquin Phoenix.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So box office was 78.8 million for the opening weekend. That's global.
Okay.
With about 33 million of that being domestic.
And that's as of recording.
That was opening weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're recording it the week.
Yeah. I think I looked today because we're recording middle of the week and it's up to like 83.5 million. It hasn't moved very far.
So it hasn't made its money back, regardless.
And not right off the bat, no. But this is pretty good.
Well, it's
a historical epic.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I think
2.5 hours
Ridley
long.
Scott's name is really pushing those ticket sales.
Banking on that quite a bit, yeah.
Well, and I think it's Apple is financing it, and
Apple's financing
they're
it.
looking for something that's like could get nominated for awards that's exclusive to their platform that makes it look at us, we're doing cool stuff over on Apple
No,
TV.
That is where they're
I'll
pushing,
definitely
yeah.
say this: like, whenever Apple started doing films and stuff, I kind of scoffed. I was like, another like
Some tech bro thinks he can make
That
art.
is what a scoff is, Andrew.
But-
I kind of scoffed, in case you didn't know what that was.
But I will say a lot of the stuff that they've been coming out with has been incredibly good.
Yeah, no, it's not bad.
or at least interesting, different. They're like, it's like Apple looked at A24 as like, I could be you, but less poor.
Financially
While
poor.
putting out a cigar on their forehead.
But I'll say this: A24 is over here making like horror movies that cost like $9,000 and they gross like 90 million, and so like the return on investment on A24.
Well, I mean,
the
like,
return on investment on like every horror movie I
Oh, yeah.
swear is
Well, I mean,
insane.
out of
even
control.
Everything Everywhere was what, like 20 million, and they
yeah.
made like 110
Oh,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
It's
Easy,
just-
yeah.
I mean, if you keep the costs low, Disney, take notes, you can make a lot of money on things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into some spoiler-free thoughts here. What we feel, what we like about the movie. What we
Yeah.
maybe
I'm
not
curious
like.
to what you thought, Ryan.
Okay, yeah. I overall thought the movie was fine. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I thought, obviously, Ridley Scott, he knows how to do battle scenes.
He does.
Battle scenes were well done. There was a lot of people on screen. Even if there was some CG in there to like fill out the ranks and stuff, it wasn't noticeable, right?
It felt like a decent size.
Yeah. It felt like something that he would do. Like it has like these really grand scale, and they're really well blocked to where you have a good idea of like who's who. The costuming is fantastic,
Right? Because obviously he's done Gladiator.
You don't have to know who one person is on this screen.
Exactly.
He's got the big hat.
But he's done Gladiator, Kingdom of Heaven. He's done big battles multiple times throughout his career. So it's like, even in The Last Duel, there were some pretty big battles. So it's like there's, he's got the pedigree for it. Yeah. So that worked. I thought the performances were really good. I thought Joaquin and Vanessa Kirby especially did really good. Because again, the movie basically rests on their shoulders, honestly. I think for me, the thing that kind of took it out was the pacing is a little slow. And like, ironically, I almost feel like if the movie was longer, it'd be better. Because I think that there are some like...
Are we going to get into trivia just right off the bat?
No, we don't have to. But like, I mean, you make that call, but I don't know. But like, to me, it's like, I feel like there are some transitions between scenes that could have been smoothed out with like a little extra here or there that would almost make the momentum of the movie feel quicker, even though it's longer. Because like, look at Oppenheimer, right? It's a long movie, but it doesn't feel like a long movie. You come out of it and you're like, oh man, that was that long? Wow. This one, I came out and I was like, that felt that long.
It did feel like there was definitely a couple times towards the end, not because I wasn't entertained at the time, but I was like, man, how long has this movie been going on?
Right.
And just because like the pacing is very slow, and it's not like if you're going in expecting Gladiator, there is no overarching narrative here beyond just Napoleon as a person, and these are vignettes of his life.
And so to that point, I think my biggest complaint is that like it's really hyper focused on Napoleon, which shouldn't surprise anybody. It's called Napoleon, but it's to me it's so much to the point that you don't have a lot of other context for
what's happening and why they're fighting.
So like I said earlier,
know who some of these people are who are important figures in French history.
Well, and like I said, I watched the video, like the catch up on French history video, but like what I don't have is the context of like, so why do the people love him? Because like in the movie, it just cuts from him doing this to like, then the people like, oh, we love Napoleon. You're like, so what happened in between? Did he do like a speech on a balcony? And everybody, that's cool. I just love his hat. Like, what is it that's got him propelled to?
They like the cut of his jib.
Yeah. And well, that's basically how they explain it. Like, he's just a cool dude. And you're like, but why? So I feel like you're so focused on his journey that like, there's multiple times in the movie where, different groups of people are like just all about him. And for me, they didn't give the context of why anyone would be like that towards this guy. And that it didn't affect the movie. It was just like, it felt like a missing piece that like it's already hard to root for the main character in this story because he's Napoleon. So like, it's different than like a movie like a Gladiator, right?
Where he's like the underdog and he's trying to
obviously
fight up against the emperor.
You're attached to it. You're into it. So to me, it was more of an interesting movie than it was like a, I don't want to say not entertaining, but it wasn't like, I wasn't emotionally just in it. Like,
you don't have to get some popcorn, sit down. Oh let's watch this go. Like you can't do that with Gladiator. 100%.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Where this was very much emotional detachment where you're just kind of watching the scenes unfold. And it's not that the scenes aren't interesting because I think each one actually does have a good pull for each scene.
Yeah.
But there's nothing tying anything together. So like whenever the battle's happening, like, oh, this is really cool. But like you don't have any outward context of kind of like why it's happening or like the players involved in that kind of stuff unless you just have an overt knowledge of French history.
Right.
Which probably most Americans don't.
Well, and to that point too, like you don't get a lot of the context of like, supposedly Napoleon was like a military genius, or at least he was like.
They never show him do anything.
They just show him
anything out of
he
the
just
ordinary.
shows up, and then like the battles happen, and you're like, oh, okay. So like, I feel like again, if there were a longer cut of this movie, you might get more context for some of the scenes, and it might actually make the movie flow better to me.
Stephen, what are your thoughts? Because you have the most general knowledge of French history.
You really want the long-winded bit?
Of course I do.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
That's why we're here.
First of all,
put the appropriate amount of wind
to Ryan's point of, I feel like this movie would be smoother if it were longer, right? So Scott's already come out and said that when this goes to Apple TV streaming, there's a 4 hours director cut.
Oh my God.
That really, for real, might be better paced. Like, it would be longer, but it might be better paced scene to scene.
Well, you're at home, you can split it in half.
The Blade Runner director's cut was the best one.
Right.
Well, and this happened with, you mentioned it earlier. It's another one of Ridley Scott's
Kingdom of
films.
Heaven?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kingdom of Heaven, where when it came out in theaters, it wasn't super well received, but the director's cut is extremely well liked.
Just because it has more
it just
ties.
fills out the story.
I've only seen the director's cut, and it's been years. It was back like close to when it came out. And I remember the bad reviews, and then I rented it, not knowing that, or I can't remember how I rented it at the time. I think, still.
But you watched it, yeah.
I watched it, and I watched the director's cut. I was like, this is great.
Like, what are people
complaining about?
Like
I don't get it. Like, what's the big deal? And I think it's because, kind of like Blade Runner, like you have the longer cut, and it
kind of fills out some stuff, gives context to more scenes, that kind of stuff. And that may be exactly where this film kind of lands, is if we do get a 4-hour cut of the film, it could be more cohesive. Than what we got in this one, where he gets to the cutting room floor and he's like, well, we got to cut an hour. No one's going to sit in there for 4 hours.
He specifically made this film 2.5 hours long because to his mind, it's 2 hours, 38 minutes, but to his mind, that's the maximum amount of time the average person wants to sit in one place.
I don't blame him.
I don't necessarily disagree with that assessment either. But I do think that doing so at the cost of the film and a theatrical release maybe isn't the
best way to go about it.
If you want to put 12, 15 more minutes in here, man, and it's going to flow a little bit, knock yourself out.
Then go for it.
Don't let me stop you.
That's all right. Back to your thoughts.
So go ahead. You're right. Well, Andrew already kind of referred to it as vignettes, right?
Vignettes, yeah.
In a lot of ways, it almost feels like almost a documentary. And
a little bit.
I don't mean in terms
of
like
a dramatized documentary.
Yeah. Well, I don't even mean like that. Like as if this is happening, and in 1789 France they had these cameras, and it's just, hey, we can only get access to this room.
Yeah,
shoot what you can get. We'll just edit it together later.
That's what he should have done. He should have shot it documentary style.
Talking like interviews and everything.
He sits down for an interview with Napoleon.
It's like The Office all of a sudden. Some unnamed generals just complaining. Yeah.
But also, to the point of it felt empty or hollow, actually, is what our one-star reviewer called it. Just because partly looking at Napoleon and being like, hey, we're going to do a 2.5-hour film on Napoleon. Well, that's not nearly enough time to cover, 25 years of his life, basically.
Well, that's another thing. The movie feels like it takes place across 2 years. Almost without context of keeping up with the dates,
without it giving you dates down the bottom.
Yeah, because they don't really age him makeup wise.
They don't even de-age him.
They should have
de-aged him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'll let Steven.
Well, when the film starts, he should be 24-ish.
Right. Yeah.
Not 50.
Yeah. Which Joaquin
Phoenix
49.
is only 24. So
keep
jokes on you, Andrew.
Joaquin's 49. But by the end of the film, because when Napoleon died, he's 51.
Yeah, so he's right.
Which is kind of funny. They let him grow little stubble and stuff, and it was gray. Which seeing photos of Joaquin when he has a beard, it's also gray.
It's also gray. Yeah.
They didn't age him up, but it also kind of felt like, did y'all finally just be like, we should age him up? It's like, he's already the right age. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a choice.
Well, I think Joaquin was the right casting choice to play Napoleon as a general person.
He looks
the part.
It's like just looking at him and images and portraits and stuff of Napoleon and caricatures of Napoleon.
Yeah.
It looks right. I can see it.
Yeah.
He's just kind of old.
Well, yeah.
Or they should have done something to give him, not even de-age him, but give him a little makeup.
I think
smooth
that
him out.
if he was pretty much the age whenever he did Gladiator, and he did Napoleon back then, that would be the perfect age for that.
And I think that's what I was seeing him as when I was thinking of this. They got Joaquin. Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Well, that's kind of what everyone that and Signs and that era of Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah.
Well, and Napoleon, when you look at a lot of his portraits, right, he got a baby face in a lot of these.
He does.
He was a baby.
That's why the British made fun of him.
Well, that's one of the reasons.
One of the
many reasons. But I mean, the guy was, ruling a country and an emperor by the time he was 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. Baby, this.
What have you been doing with your life? Geez. But it's hard and weird because there's no real way to string it together without them showing us, again, Napoleon, military genius is what most people know him for.
Yeah.
You got to show way more battles well,
Sure.
budget just already going through the roof, right? How many more extras we're going to get? How many more locations or whatever?
Yeah, because we really only got like what, four battles?
I know we got.
Do you count the nighthime battle on the fort at the front?
Yeah, I count
Toulon,
that.
that's a battle.
So that's
that's
four.
Toulon,
actually
yes,
one
you
of
have
his
Toulon,
battles.
Waterloo,
Austerlitz,
and
then
I mean, we shot the rebellion.
That doesn't count
in Paris.
yeah,
Maybe
that's
it's just 3.
Maybe just 3.
It may just be 3.
Yeah, I feel that I'm forgetting something.
Yeah, because like in Egypt, that's not really a battle.
Egypt, he shoots the pyramid. Okay,
Right, he shoots the pyramid.
Again, in terms of like just
Never happened.
jumping the shark. So there's actually
It did in his mind. That was the letter he was writing back to Josephine, maybe. And I shot the pyramid. It was so cool.
Dude, his letters are buck wild to read. I feel like some of the dialogue they use too it almost felt like it was lifted word for word.
Yeah.
Which making someone say something that someone else wrote, it already is going to sound incredibly stilted and hard to pull off.
I mean, that is what scripts are, right?
A little bit, but you got to put your own inflection to it. Like he was like pacing it like it was being written.
Yeah, I know.
So, okay, French historian.
Oh God, don't do.
What was his actual title? What'd you say? Chief Architect of the French Revolution.
No,
Chief French Officer.
Chief French Officer. So, in your estimation, how much of the French Revolution and the Napoleon reign is like we know for sure this stuff happened, and how much is like conjecture?
It's pretty well documented.
It is, but can we trust? That's always that question though. Of that time in history during a revolution, someone's writing an opinion piece, and it's
there's a lot of shading.
Yeah.
So like,
Victor's right history.
Right. Yeah.
Also true.
Yeah.
And Napoleon, historically speaking, when he was banished to for the second time to St. Helena, Helena, he did a fantastic job of kind of
spinning,
buffing his reputation with his writings and stuff. And interestingly enough, by the end of his reign, a lot of current day French people were sick of him because
Napoleon again. This guy again.
It was decades of war.
Yeah.
The economy's bad. People are hungry. He's forced conscription into the army. Like, these are not popular things, right?
Yeah,
right.
So by the end of it, France as a whole didn't really like him. But then the generations that are separated from that tough time, when it was like, oh, he was a man of the people. He fought for France and he made France great. Well, then he really gained a lot of acclaim. And so that's not to say that he wasn't, like, objectively, he was a military genius. The stuff that he was doing when he won a lot of these battles, like the decisions, and this is the most boring part of military ever, the organizational decisions he made and how he broke his forces down is what modern armies are still using today.
Right.
Style, which is unheard of at the time.
See, I wish there was a little more meat on the bone of that.
I would have liked a lot more of that.
Because like that's kind of the whole point of like, especially if you're like have tertiary knowledge of like Napoleon stuff like that, you always hear that he is like this. He was the military genius, like that. They call it the Napoleonic Wars because of that. Like he is very good at what he did.
Yeah.
And in this movie, we get a little bit of that, but I really would have loved a little bit more of a breakdown of like why he was so good.
Yeah, it was really a focus of the relationship between him and Josephine, which is valid, and there is a lot to unpack in that.
Oh, for sure. It's a very toxic relationship, and it's interesting to watch on screen. And like, it gets us more Vanessa Kirby, so like I'm here for it. Like that was fun watching them interact.
I mean, she's very good. I think of everyone in the film, she's the standout.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I was not super thrilled with Joaquin, partly just because the lines they gave him and what they had him do, it was almost a little too the Joker brought to this character.
Somebody I saw someone making a comment about Joaquin, and like basically they were like, so in this movie he plays a mopey, sexually repressed, dude. In Joker he was this mopey, sexually repressed guy. In Beau is Afraid, which just came out, he was a mopey, sexually repressed guy.
Do we need to do a welfare check on Joaquin?
They're like, is Joaquin okay? He's taking very specific roles that on the surface seem to be wildly different, but they're really not when you boil it down.
Yeah.
So did you have anything else before we hop over to Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too much into like historical comparisons or anything like that.
Focus more on like the movie.
It's hard to be spoiled. Well, it's hard to avoid spoilers with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I mean, as a whole, it was fine. I think the pacing really hurts this film.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a where are we going? Like, what? How is this connected? Where are we going? And I think if you went into it with not like you watch some stuff before the film.
I had a little bit of a primer.
If you go in with no knowledge, I think it's a big issue.
I think you are drowning in a sea of I don't know what's going on.
I couldn't imagine if I had gone on with like no primer ahead of time. I'd have been like,
because we saw it like a Tuesday preview, and then we recorded. And as you guys were leaving, I was like, make sure you read up on your French history, because I at least had a passing knowledge, but man, it was still. I was like, okay, I think this is when this happens. No, that's. Okay, that's this year. Got it. Okay, yeah. I had to play catch up during the movie.
Phone out, and start looking it up.
No, I didn't do that. Now, in my theater though, there were two people, and this is the first time I've ever seen this. Two people that had the closed captions, little arms that come out that you attach to the theater seat, and they had closed captions in front of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it had just a little projector.
Interesting.
Initially, I thought it was is that a fan that they brought in? But no, it was actually for closed captions for hearing.
Projects the closed captions, but it lines up with the actual film.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to.
If you're focused on the screen that's really far away, this is still in focus to your eyes. That's what's crazy to me.
Well, I think it just kind of projects it to where it's kind of in your secondary,
in the middle ground or
vision.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, but
oh man, now I want to go. I want to go to the AMC
just to see.
Pardon me, I am hearing impaired.
Yeah, but yeah, it was really interesting.
That's cool.
Just to see that. That's the first time I've ever seen it in a theater ever.
Because of course at first you're like, what's this jerk doing with this technology?
What's this fan thing? Those damn zoomers.
I'll say one more thing real quick too. I feel like the movie color grading wise was very muted, and it's probably that on purpose because it's supposed to be a drab, exploration of this toxic romance and this
the real
bitter
key
little
to this
man.
is it was shot in England by a British person, and he's like, the proper place for you is to stand in a green field in the rain.
Yeah. And then saturation, put it at 30%.
We already have the clouds.
Well, then Joaquin's just like, it needs to stop raining.
Dude, it's such a depression moment. He's just it needs to stop raining.
Somebody should do a super cut of just some of these scenes into Depeche Mode or some kind of really, anyways, what did you think about the movie?
I've already kind of alluded to it. I think I enjoyed it overall. I really liked the music. I thought the music was really well done. And obviously Mark Phipps does a fantastic job with that. Mm-hmm. Mark Phipps?
Yeah, that's it. Mark Phipps.
Martin Phipps, sorry. Yeah.
You maybe
there's MAR. I got
you got close.
You got the Phipps right, and my brain went, good enough.
Good enough. M. Phipps, nailed it.
But he does a fantastic job with that. I did like both the performance of Joaquin and Vanessa Kirby. I thought they did a good job. But, like I said, there's nothing holding it together. So, you have to be invested in just the kind of vibe of Napoleon, just as
feel of it,
but the battles were very engaging, and they every time one came up was yes, here it is.
They were so engaging. We should have had more.
Yeah, but budgets and all that kind of jazz.
Well, I think you make a good point that there's nothing that ties a lot of it together almost, because it does feel like you're just watching these random scenes throughout his life. And I think that's one of the problems with a historical movie or a biopic type thing is that unless you embellish what happened, which they did a lot with the Queen movie. That's a good example of half those scenes did not happen. That is not how that happened. But they did it because for a movie, it makes a better scene.
It makes a better narrative.
Taking this event that happened later and putting it earlier makes everything flow better, and combining these two characters makes everything. Whereas this, I felt like they were trying to be a little more historically accurate. So you can't combine battles. So they're kind of skipping. It almost feels like they're skipping from just vignette to vignette because this is how life is. This is the next big thing that happened. You want to picture him eating lunch one day? Nothing happened between here,
Yeah.
And today Napoleon uses the bathroom, Right.
Are you looking to view a podcast that is going to conquer so many genres of films and TV series? Because we have it.
We're waging war on every genre.
Every single one. So we have spoilersintendedpodcast.com. You can go and check it out. We have all of our episodes and content that you can just check out anytime you want. just anytime.
Anytime.
Anytime. That's how the internet works. It's always up.
It's always there, always listening.
Until it's not, and then time to panic. So speaking of more things on there, we have links to our Discord, socials, Patreon, etc. But on the Discord, you can come in. It's free. Hang out with us. Chat with your fellow listeners about all kinds of things. Your pets, what you're cooking, your hobbies.
Yeah.
TV shows and other things that are out there going on right now, or things you're looking forward to see.
Yeah, we talk about stuff on there that we haven't reviewed. Things, obviously, that we have reviewed. We have a discussion channel on there, too. But we also have social. You should check us out on Facebook and Instagram.
We have two.
We do have two. I listed both of them, the Facebook and the Instagram.
We have social, but two is plural.
Yeah. Check us out.
Alrighty, we are back. We have conquered the spoiler wall, broken it, sent it fleeing before
we shot
us.
it with a cannon at point blank range.
Into oblivion.
Exiled it to an island.
It's going to come back at the end of the episode.
Oh, no!
So if you're not ready for spoilers on Napoleon, this is your time to get out.
I mean, you could literally just go read a history book while you're listening to this.
Yeah.
You could, or you could just go
watch a fun YouTube video.
Yeah, I got a bunch of those, let me tell you. Anyways, let's do a little trivia here. How about?
Let's go. Let's do it.
So we already got into a little bit on the length of it and that kind of stuff, so we're good there. But how about this? So the film was shot in just 61 days.
That's pretty quick.
That's actually pretty fast.
For battles and everything, that's wild.
Yeah.
2 months.
Which Ridley Scott credits with a lot of heavy effort on pre-planning and production.
It's almost like pre-production's important.
And no retakes or reshoots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which kind of is funny because 10 days before shooting started, Joaquin Phoenix told Ridley Scott he did not know what to do with this character.
Who am I playing again?
Yeah, couldn't figure out, didn't know what he wanted to do, which ended up with the two of them basically rehearsing and talking through the movie scene by scene.
Be mopey and sexually repressed.
Days.
You've got this.
But for days before the production began. So it was actually Joaquin's performance as the Joker that caught Ridley Scott's eye and made him say, oh, you could be good for this.
I hated you when I directed you in Gladiator, but that Joker movie.
Yeah, I know, right? It's funny that he said that because it's like, you knew him already.
Well, but I mean, it's a different type of
performance
dictator at that point because Joaquin or
Commodus.
No. Is that it's
in
Commodus.
Gladiator,
Yeah, Commodus is just such a little
easy. It's a family show.
Yeah, I know. He's something.
He's a nitwit.
So let's see. So speaking of our one-star review here, Ridley Scott has responded to French criticism of the film, saying the French don't even like themselves.
He's probably not wrong. I mean,
that's such a British thing to say.
That is, yeah.
He's also, in response to historical criticism of the film, he's told people to get a life, as well as, excuse me, mate, were you there? No, well, shut the F up then.
That is such
How
a British
old is
thing
Ridley
to say.
Scott, too? He's like 85.
85. He's
Like,
no
this
time
guy
for
and
this.
Scorsese are like drinking some kind of special Red Bull that I don't know exists because I don't have energy to barely get dressed every day. These guys are 85 and they're still making epic, giant 3-hour movies.
So the battle scenes used 11 different cameras, all filming simultaneously.
My comment would be, that's it?
Right?
Only 11?
Just 11.
I mean, that's actually pretty impressive, though.
It is, yeah.
Well, it's impressive, again, just from an organizational standpoint of, hey, if we're going to film all this at once, different angles and whatnot.
Oh,
you
yeah,
don't
it's
just
clutch, I guess.
You don't have just some dude with a boom in the background.
Is Ridley Scott the Napoleon of movies?
Oh, Lord.
He's the strategic mastermind of
Okay, I was like,
battles.
I think he has a good relationship with his wife. I don't know.
Every other director hates Ridley Scott. I don't understand.
Scorsese's like, Scott!
So the coronation scene is a straight recreation of the painting by Jacques-Louis David, who is actually shown in the movie scene sketching the painting.
Oh, yeah.
It's like very meta within a meta.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it was pretty cool just seeing it and being like, you know what? I've seen this painting before.
I think that's one of my favorite parts is whenever it really shows like his personality of like where his mental state was of him just like picking up the crown by himself.
Oh yeah. Well, he was absolutely just like, hey, we're establishing this right now. The Pope isn't bequeathing this on me. I earned this. This is mine. There's no power here.
Right.
Because they went through a whole thing. So part of the French Revolution was basically kicking the Catholic Church out of France.
Yeah.
Because it had a lot of secular power. Well, as part of his reign as consul and then as emperor, he kind of made some amends there and brought the Catholic Church, allowed them to come back and actually kind of institute a lot of reforms that were like freedom of religion oriented, a lot of stuff that like protected the Jews at a time when, I say at a time, Europe still is rampant with anti-Semitism.
Oh, sure.
But at a time when that wasn't something that people just did.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of interesting dichotomies to Napoleon where he's viewed one way, but he did these things, etc.
Well, wasn't he mostly responsible for making the metric system like standardized across a lot of Europe?
I don't know about that because I feel like that was probably more the Institute of. He may have been backed it,
right?
But it was like the Paris Institute of Science.
He may have just been the leader at the time,
right? When it happened,
or allowed it to be a thing. I don't know.
But like that's the kind of stuff that like to me, I wish they would have given a little more context in the movie of like the religious stuff and like because even though a lot of the stuff he did, I'm sure like in terms of like new laws and the way things were organized is like not great, especially for women. It was probably mostly geared towards guys because that was just the world at the time.
I mean. This is true. But, although the basis of like the Napoleonic Code is essentially what half, maybe a third of modern countries are kind of based on as a starting point.
Right.
So like, no.
Whenever you want to start your new country, go look up the Napoleonic Code.
It's a good start. You know,
That's
just
a good
take half
point.
of it.
They're guidelines.
Take part
Which
of it.
half? I don't. They didn't say.
Ignore the part that's like men control their women when they're married. To
Oh
them.
no, that's the only part we took. Oh no.
Don't take that part.
Oh no. But like, so I guess I would have loved to have a little more of that.
Yeah.
So that you kind of see the historical ramifications of what
the French
happened.
would have also appreciated more.
Sure.
Of that,
And again, maybe the 4-hour cut's got it in there.
Maybe the 4-hour cut is when you see him, victorious over the Austrian Empire, and at the sword, he hands him a bar and says, "This is 1 meter. You will use this from now on."
It's just an hour and a half of all the bureaucratic stuff he did.
He knights someone with a meter stick.
There's 25 minutes of him just signing decrees.
Yeah. It's just him organizing the military. Now you stand over there. It's just 20 minutes of them just going through it. 4 hours. Love it.
So let's see. Let's jump a little more of the historical trivia here.
Yeah.
So this is something Andrew and I were talking prior to that we complained about the film, that Josephine's son and daughter are
Just not even
there. And
They like appear at the front and then like you see her at the end.
Gone. Yeah.
Like the daughter's the one talking to him
during
there.
that scene, you're just like, who is this?
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
you're like, oh, it's her daughter.
I thought it was like her handmaiden
I
or
did
somebody.
too.
And
Lady
then I'm
in
like,
waiting.
oh, sorry.
Lady
Lady
in
in waiting.
Get it right.
Very French. And I was like, oh, that's her daughter. She growed up. Because, of course, wait, where's the son?
Yeah.
Well, so interestingly enough,
Died of scurvy. I don't know.
Probably.
he did not. So in real life,
Actually.
yeah, that's where we're going with this one. In real life, Eugene, I'm going to butcher this name.
Do it, please.
De Beauharnais. So Josephine's son.
I want to apologize to all of our French listeners this late in the episode. I'm
three of
sorry.
them, was adopted by Napoleon.
Yeah.
And became a capable politician and military leader in his own right. It eventually ended up being the viceroy of Italy.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Like he basically led what was the nation of Italy, which is not what we modern day
consider
see.
Italy.
It's
Yeah.
mostly centered around Milan, but still went quite far in his life. But also
He did not die of scurvy.
Hortense de Beauharnais, the daughter, was also adopted by Napoleon. So it's not like these two kids were just like, "Oh, you're here. Well, so this is my wife now. Y'all just go
Shift off to an
somewhere else."
orphanage.
Yeah.
Go play in the streets, kids.
Yeah, that's what the movie makes it seem like.
It really does.
He
just
shows up and then they
disappear.
just disappear, and you're like, "Oh, okay, cool. Not barely an inconvenience, I guess. No children here."
Well, that's his problem.
Yeah,
Which is interesting because they make a big deal about the
Her not being
successor
able to-
and heir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in his writings, he's stated that he would chose the son as an heir.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So,
like,
was
I
that
think
played up? What was the reason historically for them to get a divorce?
that
It
is
I
that.
mean,
Okay.
it is ultimately that because
So it is ultimately. Okay.
I mean there is some level while he may recognize
Right.
that he wants them to, that doesn't mean that everyone else is going to recognize it as a valid inheritorship.
Got it. Okay. Sorry, what were you going to say, Andrew?
Well, no, I was basically going to say that.
Okay.
Like that's like it's definitely one of those things where like they obviously over dramatize like that kind of stuff, and they play it up, because I think that because they did want it to be, or Ridley Scott wanted it to be closer about him and Josephine.
Yeah.
So these pesky kids are in the way.
Well, he wanted to get the kids out of the way because, they're not his. And then I think he wanted to play it up, the fact that she couldn't bear him a child.
Right.
That,
because there's 5 different scenes in the movie where they're all arguing about that, him and her. And I'm like, to me, I was like, we could have done with 2 or 3, and then given us a couple of scenes with other stuff about I
think I think just because they did divorce specifically for that, I think he wanted to hammer home. He's
really
like,
drive
hey,
it
we've
home.
been trying this for a long time, and you can't give me an heir.
My favorite
I'm the emperor.
argument was when they just started throwing food at each other at the table.
that was pretty funny.
There were some genuinely funny parts in this movie that made me laugh out loud.
I was like, is this supposed to be
You
I think
you're
it
so
was.
great because you have boats.
I was like, tell him.
I wish that line, the context was there, because I'm not positive when in his time as France's leader that happened.
Yeah.
The as presented in the movie, because if that happens after the Battle of the Nile and after Trafalgar, that's hilarious. He's like, you think you're so big because you have boats? It's like, yeah, both your fleets have been wrecked, dude. But yeah, so the daughter actually ended up being, so she married one of Napoleon's brothers.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
And so they ended up being, so it was his adopted daughter and also
His
sister-in-law.
sister-in-law.
Yeah.
his niece is now his aunt.
What, the Alabama?
His niece is
What, the Kentucky Fried?
and I'm my own grandpa. What?
So she ended up being briefly the Queen of Holland, and
As one wants to do.
but,
Yeah.
but so it's crazy, right? 'Cause
Politics are wild.
I know.
no European monarchy
Yeah.
politics are wild. So Josephine is the direct ancestor of 5 current royal families in Europe:
Wow.
Wow.
Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, and the Grand Duke of Luxembourg.
Well, because she was an aristocrat, right? Or she was a
Yes, she was.
yeah. So yeah, I guess she's from that
Well,
lineage
and then
back then. Yeah.
Her son and daughter, I assume that's where it's coming from, is her son and daughter, because her daughter's son ended up being Napoleon III, who is another emperor of France. Plot twist, I don't know if y'all knew this or not, there's not one French Revolution, there's 3 of them.
Y'all are obsessed with these
And in
revolutions.
between them, there is an emperor,
They are the
a
birthplace of
king.
democracy. And they like to democratize all
Often.
over each other.
I'm pretty sure that Greece is the birthplace of democracy.
I don't know. That's what French people say.
Well, the French people would say that.
We also invented Greek yogurt. There's no way. That's not
how that
It's in the title.
Anyways, let's get into the actual film.
Yes, please.
Going into the film, obviously, we have the big battles, everything like that. We can get to that here in a minute.
Yeah.
I definitely, we've already talked about how good Vanessa Kirby did. I think,
Yeah.
she honestly played fantastic
standout.
I mean, there's really only 2 main actors
Right.
for this film.
Well, and again, I have no context for what was she like in real life, Josephine, but this portrayal's great.
Yeah,
So,
I thought it was fine.
I don't know if it's accurate, but it was riveting to watch. Yeah.
Well, and I know that Vanessa Kirby was really jazzed about playing this role, particularly against Joaquin Phoenix, just because because she's substantially younger than him. I'm pretty sure she's.
I think she's
35,
15 years, 15 years younger, which is the flip of the dynamic it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it
Okay.
should be. It should be reversed because she's supposed to
Josephine
be
was
older.
actually 6 or 7 years older than Napoleon.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's weird how that works
It's
out.
whatever,
but
it's
yeah,
cast.
Hollywood.
Yeah. But I mean, they really did have. It's really weird. In between each scene, it felt like either their chemistry was fantastic or it was nothing. And maybe that's kind of the purpose.
Maybe that's all.
I mean,
yeah.
it's a rocky relationship
It
with a
is.
lot of, because to Ryan's bit about how accurate the portrayal is, I think the only thing that a lot of people really got historically hyped up about not being, and it's a lot of stuff that I read about this were these are kind of nitpicky here, guys. Was
It's going to be a movie. It's a drama.
Yeah.
There's going to be changes. There has to be.
But what do they get?
Josephine absolutely did not want to be divorced, 100%, because that was her
And
It's a meal ticket.
I don't want to put it that way.
I mean, yeah, that's very not nice.
But at the time, that's literally like.
Well, no, like even more so than that. Like, and this is my own shading here, my own interpretation. But like, we're not far removed from a moment when, hey, if you fall out of disfavor with the French people, they take your head off.
Right.
And if Napoleon's like, hey, I divorce you, the French people might be like, no, we don't like you either.
Well, when he meets her, she's kind of not undercover, but like she's trying to hide the fact that she used to be.
She just got freed at the end of the Reign of Terror. Yeah.
So like, it's still fresh on everyone's mind. It's not just like, I'll tell everybody I used to be like a royal, no problem, ha ha ha. So she probably looked at it as some security,
for sure,
Definitely.
But yeah, anyways, that's my only little.
Yeah.
Well, so to what you were saying about them being hot and cold too,
it's very hot and cold.
It felt again like a good portrayal of a toxic relationship where like in one scene he is obsessed with her and then the next she's obsessed with him, and it's like the power dynamic is just playing ping pong the whole way through. And like that one scene in particular where he comes home from Egypt. He leaves, and he's got all of her stuff out on the lawn because she's not there. He's like, everyone in France knows I'm coming home today, and she's gone.
Yeah,
and then like
that was a great scene.
She comes back and she's freaking out, and you're like, what do you think was going to happen? Why'd you leave?
Well, I liked seeing all the the luggage on the lawn. I was this is very like modern divorce right now. Like, I don't know if this happened.
Desperate Housewives of like France. Yeah, but then like in that scene, he makes her say, I am you're nothing without me, or I can't remember the exact lines, but it's like I'm your whole world. And then by the end of that night, like they keep arguing, and she's like, you're nothing without me. I'm your world. He's like, you're my whole world. And I'm like, this is wild to watch this like just roller coaster all happen in the movie in 24 hours. I don't know if that could have been over weeks and
you don't know,
real time. Yeah.
But
I do like that. To some degrees, I do like that they kind of hyper-focused on their relationship because it really is the only
like emotion.
Yeah. Even though it's not a love story, really, like especially how it's
not
portrayed.
The classic sense.
No, it's more like you're watching a train wreck and you can't look away. But it's like without that, if they didn't focus on that, like I don't know that Joaquin's portrayal of Napoleon would have carried the movie, not because it's a bad portrayal, but because he basically, to me, has the demeanor of like, I don't know. And he shows up to battles and they just win, is how like the movie almost portrays it. And so you almost have this perspective of him of like, I don't know. He's not a very likable character, like the way he portrays Napoleon in the movie, right? He's not like someone you want to root for.
Where they put you in his corner, kind of thing,
right? Yeah. And so when you don't have that, if you also didn't have a story with him and Josephine going back and forth, what do you have? You know what I mean?
I will say I did really like his performance at the Battle of Waterloo, especially whenever he's like going in and out of his general tent, and like he just walks out and you can see the disgust in his face that it's just because he knows that like the other army's coming.
Yeah, he's running out of time.
Yeah, it's a really good scene.
Yeah,
and I can't remember if they even had a like a little title that said it was Waterloo.
They did.
Okay, I just must have missed it.
Well, he points on the map. He's like, we stop him here. And he points to Waterloo.
Gotcha.
That's what it is.
Which that was one of the smoother inclusions of telling us where he's going to be. Yeah. As opposed to doing like the spy movie thing where it's like 900 hours to San Francisco Bay or whatever, you know?
Yeah. What about you guys?
I'm trying to think of like what else to, like, okay, the battles, to jump into that specifically, like, I don't know, again, how historically accurate the firing the cannonballs into the...
No, that's pretty accurate.
Well, so I've read differing things on that. They found like 4 bodies the next spring when the ice thawed out, not thousands like they portray in the movie.
That's where you get into because it was only a small part of the army that was forced across the frozen.
But I don't care.
Pause.
It was a ripping awesome scene. Yeah,
it looked really cool.
It was really, and the blood in the water. I was like, oh, this rips. I don't care if this never happened. This rules.
With the dude with the standard, where Napoleon's like, the dude with the flag's getting away. Don't let him.
Yeah, and then you see the flag like sinking through the dark water.
Like that whole battle, I think was really the climax of the film.
It kind of was.
Then it kind of happened, for another 45 minutes after that.
So it kept going
because he lived a lot longer after that.
Which is interesting because Austerlitz, the battle it's representing, is kind of like the pinnacle of Napoleon.
Like that's his.
That was the battle of the 3 emperors. Just like a year after he's the emperor of France. And
Yeah.
it's like, hey, you're already back out fighting again to prove does your nation exist or not? Do you remain emperor?
Yeah. I thought that battle, and really all the battles, with the exception of the first one on the fort, that one was really dark.
It was a little bit too dark.
It was weird because it was like, hey, we're kind of doing like the dark and it's blue color cast. And I was like, oh, we're kind of doing like the old, 80s, 90s thing.
Yeah.
Except I still can't see
Can't see anything.
Yeah.
And then you had a really bad CGI horse die.
Oh, yeah. A horse gets absolutely obliterated.
Didn't like that.
Yeah.
Which is interesting too because, again, Siege of Toulon was a real thing. Mm-hmm. They stormed a fort, turned the guns on the British, et cetera, et cetera.
I did like the incendiary rounds that they made up from the mortars.
Oh, yeah.
To burn the ships. That was
cool.
Yeah. So it's up for debate as to whether or not he had a horse shot out from under him at the battle, but it is something that is possible.
Yeah.
He did, and I thought it was funny they didn't show it. He did take a wound in the fighting that almost killed him.
Oh, really?
Like just like right off the bat, it was one of those things.
Almost dead.
Yeah, it was one of those things where he was stabbed, where it was like, hey, if this was 2 inches
little
to
bit
the
to the
left,
left, yeah.
So I thought it interesting they didn't like
Include
go into
that.
that at all because that could have been kind of
an early way to get you into his.
I assumed, we're gonna see that happen and then they'll get us in on his side. Like, no, okay, we're just gonna kill a horse. Oh, oh, okay.
Yeah,
send this to mother. He takes like the cannonball.
No, I won't lie.
Like,
that line
wow.
was not bad because it was like, what are you? I was like, if he pulls this heart out and eats it, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I was like, what are we doing here?
Still dances with wolves on me. I don't know what I'm going to do in this theater.
Yeah.
We were sitting next to this old couple, and it wasn't long after the opening.
Harold, no.
Yeah, no, they like got like 45 minutes in and left.
Oh, really?
It may have been the first sex scene with Josephine, and there, but was like, nope.
Well,
my morals.
And it was pretty. I mean, that's a pretty graphic film.
It
is,
especially at the start, like the bit with Robespierre. Robespierre.
Oh yeah, where he shoots himself.
And like the other dude just like sticks his finger in it.
Yeah, he's like, he missed.
Like, what are you doing?
Even the actual opening scene with the guillotine in the French Revolution,
Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, and I was like, man, like this is brutal.
Well, I was telling my wife about that one of like, I've seen movies throughout the years do like
Marie
the beheadings,
Antoinette,
beheadings and stuff, and they made it look really realistic this time, and they play it straight. It's not like. In a lot of movies, when someone gets beheaded, it's played for either comedy, shock factor, or whatever. And it doesn't look realistic. This, he held the head up, and I was like, "That looks real. This is wild." And it made it really for me. It was like, whoa. That's probably what it was like to be at a beheading. Like this is how wild
and the crowd's all just cheering.
They're like, yeah, it's like a monster truck rally, and they're like beheading people. And I'm like, wow.
I mean, the French Revolution was very much like a monster truck rally.
It was. Oh gosh, that's a good name for a monster truck rally. Come on down Sunday to the French Revolution. Yeah, that's the Nate's truck. Get ready for Mary Antoinette. Just crushes the car. And Awesome Kong. It's like they're just interspersed.
Come see if Napoleon can leap 25 cars.
Yeah, and it's like a short truck. It still does.
Me. Yeah, a little clown car. Yeah.
Oh, that's on that note. Actually, they did a good job at doing forced perspective with Joaquin Phoenix, like against other people.
Yeah.
To where they didn't show like full body, just because I think Joaquin Phoenix is like 5'8" or something.
Well, Napoleon was like 5'7".
Yeah, he's basically Napoleon's height.
And he was also, for the time, average height. Like, I think the Napoleon complex thing has grown
Well, it's
because he's got a big hat.
It's British. Everybody had a big hat back then.
Oh, you're saying he's 5'7" with the hat's what you're saying? He's actually 4'8".
So we're full circle here, right? It's British propaganda going back to the fact that the British use a different system of measurement than the French.
Oh, right.
So in the French system at the time, he was 5'2". Well, in England, 5'2" is really short.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's a different measure of what that is.
It is, yeah.
And this is why he was like, no, the metric system will be everywhere.
Gonna stamp that.
Never again. He carries that meter stick out.
Whoever played the British general at the end.
Oh yeah,
he was really, really good.
That dude did really good. Yeah.
Oh Lord, that was.
I would go as far as to say almost all the supporting cast is great.
I don't think there was a bad performance.
I don't think there was
anywhere.
anybody where you were like, oh no, this guy again.
Yeah.
No one really stood out as like a bad performance. They all delivered. It was just like, it's so focused on the main too that it's hard not to.
Yeah, I think my principal complaint was not like, oh, it's this guy again, and more like, say his name one more time.
I just need to know who he is.
Can we figure out who he is, please?
Which in some cases, like they bring out like Talleyrand, which for a lot of people, I don't help you, tell you anything. They at least at one point put like minister or something under him.
Yeah,
like, introduce him. I was like, okay, good. Rupert Everett is Duke of Wellington.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. What did you guys think about the music?
It was pretty good. I liked it. Nothing about it like jumped out at me of like, oh, that's a good track necessarily. At least in the theater. Yeah. Like I haven't listened to the soundtrack outside of that. I haven't played it separately.
It's pretty good, just on its own.
It to me fit the mood and like really went with the movie.
Well, there's
really
a couple like of I guess maybe Latin or maybe French, I don't know, vocals that happen. Like it had to be Latin.
Well, because one of the song titles is Kyrie in it.
Okay,
in the Latin.
But yeah, so there's a couple of those that get interspersed during like the really pivotal moments of like the battles and whatnot.
Kind of like the chanting. Yeah, and,
it's like, and it's just like, oh yeah, because then you just got like the
there was a
Joaquin
couple
Phoenix mean mugging.
There was a couple of scenes where the music hits that really was good. There was it's when he was exiting a building. I'm trying to remember what point it was.
Is that when he forces the vote?
Yeah. Like and the use
After
of music
he just
there.
Cowardly ran out of the room. Dude, he's like, they're gonna kill me.
I'm not gonna lie. I loved how it was just like. He walks out into there. He's like, "We're gonna brawl." It's like, "What is going on right now?"
Yeah.
Like, get out! Okay, send the soldiers in. What is the plan here, guys?
Well, again, talking about like comedic moments is like when his brother's like, "I'll kill my brother." And he's like, "I don't know." He's like, kind of shrugs at him, just roll with it.
Shrugs like, just go with it, man.
Yeah, he's like, "If my brother betrayed France, I'd kill him." And looks at the soldiers like, "Is that enough? Do y'all go?" And then like, yeah, they just rush in.
which to a different point, one of my complaints maybe about the film is like at the end of the day. Napoleon was an incredibly charismatic leader, right?
Yeah. Like, well, and that shows at the end whenever
it shows up at the end, but they never give you that. There's no like speech. There's no moment when he.
Yeah.
There's no Braveheart.
Well, so again, if you're looking just at what happens in this movie, when he comes back from his second exile or whatever, and they meet that force, I'm like, dude's done. How is he going to get past him? And they're like, Emperor forever. And I'm like, but why?
Why do you like this guy?
Can we unpack that?
Like he gave us the metric system, all right?
I mean, just say that. Be like, I can measure everything. We're all the same. It's great. We love you. Come on in.
There's a whole thing from I think is his Italian campaigns before he was emperor.
Yeah.
Where he like got in the fighting and like got in there with the cannons, was aiming and like mud and blood on him and everything. And the troops were like, "Oh, you're in here with us. We're with you the whole way." And like if we had maybe that scene, and it's like, "Hey, that's the Fifth Army," and then the King Louis whatever. 18th, 17th, sends the Fifth Army out to go arrest him. Like, oh, what a putz!
Yeah,
they love that guy.
Well, and again, maybe in the 4-hour cut, maybe in the 4-hour cut, we get it.
But I will say, if I watch the 4-hour cut, I'm not saying that I will, but if I watch the 4-hour cut and there's like an extra big battle scene or two battle scenes that weren't in the film,
you're gonna be big mad.
Different battles. I'm gonna be like, Ridley, why was this not on the theater?
Ridley. This does seem to be like a pretty common thing with a lot of his films. Is that he really he seems to shine whenever he can just edit it the way that he wants to do it.
Yeah.
So, and that may be the case with this one too, where like Blade Runner was, chopped up into a million pieces for theatrical release. And then, he comes out with the directors, then the final cut or whatever. Yeah. And those are objectively just better films. Yeah. So, hopefully. But
see, back then it was the studio didn't trust him.
Yeah.
He didn't have the cachet.
Point, he's 85.
Now it's like, well, I guess it's because no one would put out a 4-hour movie.
That's kind of
so Apple probably bankrolled it with like the express idea of like, listen, you make ever how long of a cut you want, we'll put it on Apple TV, no sweat. But for theaters, we need this to make a decent run, and we want it in there for award season. Keep it to 2.5.
We don't have to make back every single dime. It'd be great if we did. But like, give us a good run at it.
Yeah, and then you can have your 4-hour baby over here on streaming all day long.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it does kind of sound like we're starting to work our way down a little bit here. Yep. So we're getting to that point where it's time for the question of, would you rewatch it? Would you recommend it?
That's a tough one with this one.
I think the only way I would rewatch it is if the 4-hour cut comes to Apple TV and I have the the gumption to watch it to see what they added.
Or someone else watches it and says, "Hey, this changes
you gotta
the movie."
check it out.
If people come out and are like, "Oh, the 4-hour cut is 100," like take a break at the 2-hour mark, go get some go to the bathroom, get another beer, whatever. It's totally worth it. Then it's like, okay, you might have me here,
right? But in terms of in its current form, I don't think I'm in any kind of rush to rewatch it. Yeah. My only curiosities with the 4-hour cut would be to see like what they add and what if it helps the pacing.
If it helps
so what after we watch the film, like because we always watch the credits, that kind of stuff. Not
for the setup of the historical cinematic universe.
Not to see any stuff at the end, but we just like to give everyone that worked on the film, at least a little bit of respect. And
I heard Thomas Jefferson's in the end credits.
Benjamin Franklin.
So
trying to recruit you.
It's like Iron Man with the hammer. You just see the kite flying and it gets hit with lightning. You're like, oh! Sorry, side tangent. Keep going.
No, but it also gives you a little bit of time.
Steven. I do like this.
To listen to whatever track that they have playing at the end. Then kind of think about the movie while you kind of wait. And whenever we got up from it, I was just like, I'm glad that I watched this movie. I don't think I'll ever watch it again.
Right.
I think those are the exact words you sent to us, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I think the movie was good. I just don't think it's a movie that I'm going to rewatch at any point in time unless the 4-hour cut comes out and someone's like, you have to watch it. It changes the movie.
Right. Yeah.
Then I'll do it. But definitely not in this current form. I wouldn't go line up again for it.
No.
Even on streaming.
I feel satisfied with what I got out of it. It was a very interesting movie, but in its current form, I don't feel any need to rewatch it. Maybe some of the battle scenes, but just by themselves. I don't need the whole movie.
Cherry pick it out and be like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is very much so. This felt kind of like an art house film where it's like it's gonna do something different. It's gonna be a little weird. It's gonna happen. You're gonna be like, huh. Well, I feel some things after this. I'm not 100% sure what.
Yeah. But see, I feel like if you want to get like real art housey with it, they would have gotten even weirder. It would have been like what's that Sofia Coppola period piece? I'm trying to remember the name of it.
I don't know.
It's Casey, but like there's other art house directors that would have done this and focused solely on him and Josephine, no battle scenes, and it would have been probably way more memorable because it would have been really weird.
Like Napoleon shows up with like some mud on him still.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got that in Germany.
Another battle. She's like, that's German mud. How do you know? Oh!
Because she's actually related to Sherlock Holmes in the historical fictional universe.
God, no, please.
And then the kite gets struck with lightning and Ben Franklin.
Well, did you hear the trees rustle? It's the George Washington wushu.
Chopping those wood teeth.
So, would you rewatch it, Steven?
The 4-hour cut is just by itself a maybe, just because of the length. If people come out and be like, "Oh, this really," because like at its core, the 2.5-hour version of a film is almost barely a film.
Right.
In the sense that it just does not hold itself together well.
It's just a connected series of scenes.
Yeah. And calling them connected is just because, the same person's
in it. Yeah.
Oh, good. I recognize this one. I've seen him before,
So, okay, it sounds like we're all three on the same page as far as rewatching it. Would you recommend it?
That's really tough. Because I don't think I could really recommend this to anyone unless you
Who's it for?
That's the problem. Is it for history buffs? No, it's gonna make them mad. Is it for French people? No, it's gonna make them mad.
Right.
Is it for people that like Gladiator? No.
No, it's gonna make them mad.
I guess if you're like a big Joaquin Phoenix fan, go
watch
for
the Joker.
I think Well, I think that if you just want to watch a historical, not even drama, just a historical movie.
Period.
Yeah.
If you have an appreciation for good costuming and well set up battle scenes.
Then
okay, why not?
I don't think I would pay money to go see it in the theater though. I'd wait for streaming.
I'm real glad we went on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, we went on a Tuesday night and we paid the cheaper price.
Yeah, I went early morning, got that early matinee, 40% off or whatever it is.
Yeah, I definitely would be remiss if you paid full price.
Yeah, I don't think this is in its format worth full price at all.
No,
it's very interesting. It's very well executed.
Yeah, it's like
well acted.
It's not a bad film.
No.
It's just not a film that I would watch again.
And it earns its R rating, right?
Oh, yes, it does.
There's a lot of gore.
Yeah.
There's
decent amount of sex.
Several sex scenes.
Now, there's not a lot of nudity.
No, it's more just like Joaquin Phoenix doing like a Jack Russell Terrier impersonation of like
I gotta stop you there. The first time that happened, I was like, did they speed this footage up? That man is going like 120 miles
He
an
looked
hour.
at a Jack Russell Terrier going up on a sofa and said, I got it.
It's like
Napoleon is the Minuteman.
if you put a Jack Russell Terrier on a jackhammer.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Oh, man.
It's very romantic is what we're trying to say.
Very romantic.
So romantic.
It's very sensual.
Already. Well,
We need to talk about our Patreon.
we sure do need to talk about our Patreon. For just $1 a month, you get access to all of our bonus episodes. That is guaranteed, one per month, plus all the back catalog. We talk about all kinds of crazy things. Maybe we need to do a Can We Fight Monarchies?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because to that point, we have a Patreon bonus episode about can we fight U.S. presidents?
Yeah.
Let's absolutely fight the monarchy.
Can we fight the Habsburgs? Specifically with the jaw and the nose.
But again, when we did the one with presidents, we're basing this solely off of their presidential portrait. We're not using any kind of politics or knowledge about them other than the way they look in their presidential portrait. So we'd have to find... Man, the monarchs are going to be tough.
No, not at all.
No, the portrait of like Francis II, the Austrian dude's got like a 7 head.
Right, but what I'm saying is like the
forever.
variety in art stylings is going to change, and the draft, it's going to be wild.
Depending on the era,
we should probably do this. Anyway,
this would be interesting.
what we actually have that's real that you can listen to right now is us talk about if we could fight presidents. We've got episodes where we do like chip tier lists. We've
Soda,
done,
candy.
We
make
found some of the
sick.
best chips that exist called Munchos.
Oh,
sure
fantastic. Spread the word of Munchos.
The gospel, even.
Yes. Also, we have commentaries on there. You get those included with that $1. It's all for $1, y'all.
It's just $1.
It's $1.
Helps us keep the show running, pay those hosting fees. Huge thank you to all of our current patrons.
Yes, thank you so much.
Y'all do a ton for us. You help us make this show possible.
You keep the lights on. Without you, this wouldn't be possible.
Thank you
I'm pretty sure
so
Andrew
much.
pays this electrical bill, but
I do pay the electrical bill.
Well, debatable. History will see.
Well, anyways, on that note, before we kick out of here, if you would, follow us on social, leave us a review, and share us with a friend. Until next time, I'm Steven.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Ryan.
And every spoiler was intended.
Oui.
No.